Being a musician is movement, and professional musicians move for a living. Whether you're engaging in music as an avocation for yourself and the simple joy of it, or if music is your sole source of joy and livelihood, your body and how you are using it are integral parts of musicianship. Alexander technique increases both the quality of your music performance and the longevity of enjoying and performing music. Hi, I'm Barbara Wegher-Thompson, co-founder of AT West, here on Tonebase today talking about Alexander technique. Whether your voice is your instrument, or you are playing a cello, a piccolo, or sitting at a full drum kit, any instrument, you will be engaging in repetitive actions and sometimes at high speed and for extended periods of time. The quality of these repetitive actions can be done in a way that results in pain, injury, and/or abbreviated career. Or it can be done with intelligent ease that results in better, more expressive playing and a longer career. Alexander technique will allow you to sing and/or play with ease in your body, provide a gateway to greater range of expressiveness while maintaining the health of your body in the face of repetitive actions that you find in music. Through these tone-based videos, you will gain knowledge about Alexander technique and acquire some capacity to embody Alexander technique in yourself and your music performance. But Alexander technique, learned here on Tonebase, is best paired with the physical experience of working in person with an Alexander technique teacher. AT teachers, Alexander technique teachers, train in a 3-year, 1,600-hour program to be able to provide hands-on work that functions like a human biofeedback. The hands-on work assists the student to deeply, experientially understand and learn how to override unproductive habits and access their own primary pattern. These videos are an excellent way to begin incorporating wonderful principles of FM Alexander into your life as a musician. Read one of the many books available out there. I haven't found a bad one yet. Not only will you benefit from these tone-based videos, but you will be fully prepared to gain the most out of your investment of time in person with an Alexander teacher. Who was F. Matthias Alexander and what did he discover? He was an Australian actor in the late 1800s, and he was doing what he had always wanted to do, which was be an actor, and his favorite thing was one-man Shakespearean recitations of Shakespeare. And he started to have difficulties with his voice. So he went to the doctors and they said, well, we can't see anything wrong with your voice, but here, rest your voice, take some time, go back to work. So he did. So he went back to work and pretty soon he lost his voice again and he's back to the doctors again and there's nothing wrong with your voice. Just rest your voice and you'll be fine. And the time period of healthy voice got shorter and shorter and shorter until finally he was in performance one night, lost his voice in such a way that everybody left and got their money back. So he was very concerned about how he was going to work with this problem. So he started, and his whole process took years and years and years. What you're going to learn in the next few minutes took years. So Alexander, in order to figure out what he was doing with his use patterns, he decided he would put mirrors around himself that were like dress mirrors in a dress shop. And so he could see himself in all directions. And what he discovered, I'm going to show you from the side, that his use pattern was like this. He would rock his head back and pull it into his body like that. He'd tighten across his upper back till his shoulders were here. He'd lock his knees, and this was where, and grab the floor with his feet, and this was where he was reciting Shakespeare. To be or not to be? That is the question. Blah, 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 blah. And I did that for about 30 seconds, and my back hurts. Yeah, I did that for about 30 seconds and my back was painful. And he was doing it for who knows how many years. And it was finally having major impact on his voice because he was scrunching his larynx. And so he worked his way out of that. And so moving out of it looked like this. So let me get back in it. Here he is. So he had to get himself to let his neck be free, his head rotate forward and up. And then this happened. He let go of his legs and his knees until it was a body that could do this. And he did finally discover a use pattern that was easy and open and mobile and unified and responsive to gravity. And so that all of us, whatever our use patterns are, they may not be as extreme as his, or maybe sometimes they are more extreme than his, and they may be as unconscious to ourselves as his were to him. But through Alexander technique, you can come back to a whole body and a whole self. So he thought, okay, I'm doing these specific things. Let me see which one is the culprit. So over a long period of time, because this was the beginning of experimentation, the time when science was using variables, so he thought, okay, let's take one out and see if that's the problem. And then let's take the other one out and see if that's the problem. But after going through each and every one of these things, his voice was still not remedied. He still had a vocal problem. So then he decided, maybe I need to do all of these things at the same time. So that produced what are now called the primary Alexander directions. Your neck is free, your head is forward and up, your back is long and wide, your jaw is released, it's considered an appendage, along with your arms and your legs, your feet and your hands. So eventually, from the top down, we're giving our body an instruction, and that instruction travels through your atlas occipital joint, and we'll be looking at all of that. So it is one long direction. Well, he started working. Now, here's the other part of it. He started working on this, being able to do this while he was standing, walking down the street, eating breakfast, everyday things. And then he thought, I think I've got it after several months. So now let me try reciting Shakespeare. And when he began to recite one piece of Shakespeare, all he had to do was take the in-breath with the intention of having Shakespeare come out of his mouth, and all those patterns went back into action, which was very frustrating, but it also, he was tenacious and he said, no, there's got to be something going on in that moment that I need to address. And so we call that the moment of opportunity. So when the thought is happening, but yet you haven't enacted it, you can direct how your body is going to be when that thing happens. And so he worked through this, and he called it the critical moment, but we call it the moment of opportunity because those words, critical moment, don't help your body relax at all. And that's a whole nother study called neuro-linguistic programming, but they have come together in Alexander technique. So this moment of opportunity, wherein he began to float his head, release all of his body, and take that in-breath, he was then able to go into the act of speaking, Shakespeare in particular, in a completely new and different way. And when he went back to performing, people saw this, and they saw a profound difference, not just in the sound, but in the quality of what he was doing. And they started hounding him. What did you do? And so he never intended to teach anybody, but he had to come up with a way to share that. And that has generated what we now learn in Alexander training, how to help people notice their patterns that are ineffective and not helping them achieve their goal, whatever that be, playing an instrument, or I get people from every endeavor that have goals. Humans have goals, but musicians want to play well, and they want to play expressively, and they want to play for a lifetime. So learning how to manage that moment and do what you want to do is what Alexander trains you to do. The components of learning Alexander technique fall into awareness, inhibition, and direction. Awareness is 90% of the work. If you're aware of something, you can change it. If you're not aware of it, it's making decisions for you. And awareness has some aspects to it. We have mapping, which in Alexander technique, where we look at how the muscles and the bones lay together on the human body. We will be doing some of that mapping as we go. We also want to be aware of, in the awareness piece of things, primary pattern and startle pattern. These are terms that Alexander coined to make a way for us to talk about human function in a single term. Primary pattern is that quality of being that we all had if we're born with normal neurology, pretty standard normal neurology. We have a quality of use that is absolutely beautiful, and it will last until about 5 years of age. He noticed he was observing a lot of people in the public, and he said, yeah, about 5 years of age, I see a change in people. And what's going on before 5 years of age is our neck is completely free, our head rotates forward and up, our back is long and wide, our jaw is easy, our limbs are being used for what limbs are used for, not for unusual things. There isn't slumping and there isn't over-efforting. Our bodies in that state of 0 to 5 are learning how to live on the planet and function on the planet and live in gravity, and doing an absolutely excellent job of it. Startle pattern, when you're at that age, is used to actually respond to things that are life-threatening. That's what it's for. But what happens with adults is, and what is needed in Alexander technique, is to become aware of when your startle patterns are happening in unproductive ways and in chronic ways. And that's when it gets in the way of doing things that you want to achieve and enjoying things that you want to achieve. Startle pattern happens when something, it's intended to happen, when something is truly life-threatening. And what your body will do is your head will rock back and pull into your body, and your body will strive to close into the front like this. And that's what we do when something is truly life-threatening. But when we start doing that under circumstances that are not life-threatening, it deteriorates the result that we're trying to achieve. Singing a song in front of people is not life-threatening in most cases. It is not life-threatening, but our body can in small ways startle. So we don't want to startle unless it is really meaningful. And so Alexander technique is one of the parts of learning it, is understanding to what degree and in what ways you startle, and learning how to let go of that consciously whenever you want to. Doesn't mean you'll take it away from you. You always have a choice, but it's nice to have that choice. So that is our startle pattern. Primary pattern is the absolute opposite. We can go back to our primary pattern. We can feel it completely, and that's what Alexander is striving to help you do, to have your primary pattern back on demand and to be in control of your startle pattern. So those are two terms that are part of what we strive as Alexander teachers to help people become aware of. And then people have their own unique habits that develop over their history. If they've had an accident or if they've had a particularly traumatic experience, those can leave markers in someone's nervous system, but those too can be worked through so that your primary pattern can be completely available to you in your artistry and whenever you want. So awareness is a very big part of it. So once you're aware that you're doing a pattern that's not productive, the next thing is inhibition. That next category is inhibition and letting go of it. And so it's a positive thing, but letting go of it in the context of your primary pattern, where your goal is your neck is completely free, your head is rotating forward and up, your back is long and wide, your jaw is released, your limbs and extremities are completely released. And so we understand psychologically as well as kinesthetically how to let that happen. So chronic tension goes away from you. Ineffective habitual responses to stimuli start to fade away. You're working on your art even when you're working away from the studio and away from an audience, because you're reworking how you relate to everything that you see, everything that you hear, everything that you process kinesthetically, and becoming more comfortable with responding more appropriately to the moment. So that's what inhibition is. It's actually a very positive word. learning to come home to your primary pattern first, and then make a choice of what you're going to do next. So you need to, here's the next word, after awareness being so important and being able to learn to stop, then you need to allow. And that word is on the wall of where I teach in gigantic letters so that students see it all the time. Making yourself do something is just another habit. Allowing yourself to do that which you choose to do and know is more productive is a completely different neurological experience, and a productive one. If you keep trying to stop a lot of things, it keeps your brain way too busy to do a good job, a beautiful job, an expressive job of what you have to do in singing a song or playing a piece of music on the piano. So what are the directions? After you've become aware of what you do, which is a process of paying attention day to day in everyday things as well as your art, working on letting go of that tension, and that can happen whether you're doing your art or whether you're walking down the street. The next thing is the directions, the Alexander directions, and we're going to focus on those. And they are letting your neck be free, your head rotate forward and up, your back lengthen and widen. And then your limbs and extremities will join. You will be non-endgaming. You'll be staying in the moment. And your field of attention will be unified. You will be attending to every part of inside your skin while you're seeing, hearing, and feeling things. And that's the way you operated at 5 years old, or 3 years old, or 2 years old. But you have the intellect of an adult. It's pretty fun. So here we go. So how does one learn? How do you actually learn how to repattern yourself and allow yourself to be more the way you were intended to be? There are visual and verbal things that we do, and we will do some here on Tonebase through what is called body mapping, coming to a better sense of how your body, muscles and bones are put together and how your brain works with all of that. And then when you take Alexander Technique, your teacher, your Alexander Technique teacher has verbal coaching that will help you. But I'll be your verbal coach for today. Then tactually, when you'll see later on, there is something that we learn at Alexander Training where we gently connect with another person in a way that helps them to work within their own nervous system to make these changes. So you are, when you're doing that, actually repatterning, relearning what it feels like to stand or sit or to be in relationship to an instrument or be in relationship to a certain piece of the music. That is a tactile thing that you will see a little bit of today, but it is worth experiencing hands-on, and that you won't be able to do with Tonebase, but you'll see it happen, and hopefully you'll seek out a teacher who will do that tactile work with you. Then in activities, and that is a combination of those things, a combination of verbal and hands-on work that assists the student to apply the principles of Alexander Technique to specific areas. And it can be applied to absolutely anything, but here at Tonebase, it's all about music.